It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then he gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And now we have municipal, state, and federal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws that might impact you without you knowing it. So my mission is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. And today I'm talking about proposals to amend the Texas Constitution, which you can vote on Tuesday, November 4th. That's coming right up. So schedule it on your calendar. Tell your secretary, tell your spouse, tell them that you have to vote on these things because they will impact you. So on the radio, I talked about the proposals to amend the Texas Constitution that deal with property taxes, that deal with inventory taxes, that deal with tax bans like against capital gains tax and inheritance tax and taxes on stockbrokers. This episode is going to help you understand the 7 sleeper amendments that could tie a judge's hands regarding bail and removing your elected judges without your permission, as well as tie the legislature's hands regarding technical school funding, water, and Alzheimer's research. This is the no-holds-barred episode, breaking down every hidden proposition the politicians don't want you to notice. So, if you're listening to this, you found me on podcasts everywhere, on YouTube. But did you know I'm also on the radio in San Antonio, surrounding areas, Seguin and New Braunfels, all the way down to Corpus Christi, and all the way to Houston. So tell your friends this is where you can find out about hidden legal issue blind spots. Well, let's get into it. These are interesting to me because I'm a lawyer. You know, Marquardt Law Firm sponsors the show. And so these 2 amendments I'm going to tell you about are sort of, I grouped them together to be about the judicial system. And I'm taking the proposed amendments out of order because it makes more sense to me that subjects of the same type should be grouped together. So proposition number 3 is about bail. The ballot language says the constitutional amendment requiring the denial of bail under certain circumstances to persons accused of certain offenses punishable as a felony. Now, is that vague or what? Now, the reason it's important to me is because I believe in the presumption of innocence. I think that you should have an opportunity to have bail, and judges already have the power to deny bail, but they have to have a good reason. They have to hear evidence about why somebody should be denied bail. Because just because the police said you did it, just because the prosecutor said you did it, just because they indicted you, that doesn't mean you did it. They have to prove that in court beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a highest burden of proof established by law. And so I don't think you should have to sit there in prison until your court date, which could be months or years, just because some people in the legislature think that certain crimes, certain offenses should be denied bail. But you can decide. I mean, this could be a safety measure for you if you just think that if you've been accused of a serious crime that's a felony and it fits under some category that's going to be defined in the future, then go ahead and vote for that. But just know that you have to protect your rights, even under the criminal statutes, even if you're a good person and even if you never commit a crime, because there might be one day that a neighbor gets mad at you for letting your dog go potty on his lawn, that files a complaint against you for a crime that you didn't commit. So you heard it from me. Go vote Tuesday, November 4th here in Texas. It's important that you exercise your right to vote. Now, number 12, proposition number 12, is regarding the State Commission on Judicial Conduct. The ballot language says, the constitutional amendment regarding the membership of the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, the membership of the tribunal to review the Commission's recommendations, and the authority of the Commission, the tribunal, and the Texas Supreme Court to more effectively sanction judges and justices for judicial misconduct. So we already have one of these. The governor and his supporters just wanted more power over the State Commission on Judicial Conduct. The governor wants to have authority to appoint people that he wants on the commission. It would change the makeup of the Texas State Commission on Judicial Conduct and related processes and powers. And so I don't like it. I don't like that there's more bureaucracy here, and I don't like that the governor's office would have more power over the judicial system. I believe in the separation of powers, to have a separate legislative branch, judicial branch, and executive branch, and they're supposed to all have balanced powers. And so I think this could give the governor too much over that. And I'm sure that he thinks that there's bad judges out there, but guess what? Judges are elected. And so the people that vote can decide whether a judge is bad or not. You can vote them out of office. You can run against them. You can support somebody that's running against that alleged bad judge. Now, I know that there should be some oversight of elected officials, but I just don't think that giving the executive branch more authority over it should be the answer. Next is proposition number 1, creation of the Permanent Technical Institution Infrastructure Fund. The ballot measure says the constitutional amendment providing for the creation of the Permanent Technical Institution Infrastructure Fund and the Available Workforce Educational Fund to support the capital needs of educational programs offered by the Texas State Technical College System. This amendment would create an endowment for the Texas State Technical College program. So this is a different way of funding something through an amendment to the Texas Constitution. That seems a bit odd, doesn't it? Because usually the legislature is the one who establishes funds, who allocates money for certain things. And so that's weird to me. Now, if you listen to the first half of the episode on the radio where I was talking about property tax exemptions, I did mention that I support education. I want people to be educated because then we can all make smarter decisions together about how to live our lives. And I think that education is one of the best things a government provides behind public safety and infrastructure. So I'll let you decide on this one whether you think that the constitutional amendment should create an endowment. Seems like it's going behind the legislature's back on this one. But if you really want to support education, then this is your opportunity to vote directly for it. Next is about water. This is proposition number 4. The ballot language says, the constitutional amendment to dedicate a portion of the revenue derived from state sales and use taxes to the Texas Water Fund and to provide for the allocation and use of that revenue. So everybody probably knows, unless you've been under a rock for the last 2 decades, that water is a precious commodity and we need it. Everybody needs it everywhere. And so it's hard to find, and it costs a lot of money to extract from the ground and to clean and sanitize and deliver to the population. And so the government is always trying to figure out a way for the cities and the state to have more access to water. But do you think that this should be done by way of a constitutional amendment? If you were listening to the last episode on the radio about property tax exemptions, you probably heard me quote one of the formerly known as Twitter users who said that the Texas Constitution, or state constitutions in general, are meant for organizational purposes and not for substantive law. Do you agree with that? Let me know. Post a comment on YouTube. So I'm talking about the water proposal, and everybody knows that we need water, but do you think that the voters should be able to go behind the legislature's back and to establish a big fund for this? Next is proposition number 14 regarding Alzheimer's research. The ballot language says, the constitutional amendment providing for the establishment of the Dementia Prevention and Research Institute of Texas, establishing the Dementia Prevention and Research Fund to provide money for research on and prevention and treatment of dementia, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and related disorders in this state, and transferring to that fund $3 billion from state general revenue. Wow, that's very specific. And I have a lot of clients that are caregivers for somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's. And so I hear these stories every day about how difficult it is for somebody suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's to have a high quality of life. And I hear every day how difficult it is to be a caregiver of someone suffering from one of those disorders. But do you trust the government to be a good steward of resources, to spend $3 billion from the state general revenue? Aren't there other organizations that do research on Alzheimer's or dementia? And don't they already have a process in place to allocate that money wisely? I just don't know that it's a good idea for the state constitution to take $3 billion from state general revenue. Why not let the legislature debate this and decide whether the legislature wants to allocate $3 billion to this same thing? It's just weird that it's in a proposed constitutional amendment. Next is Proposition 15, which codifies parental rights. The ballot language says, the constitutional amendment affirming that parents are the primary decision makers for their children. Now, this is natural law. I don't know why the government even has to make a statement about this. This is already built into our DNA. We already know this. The animal kingdom already knows this, that when you have a baby, you take care of the baby, and the parent is the primary decision maker for the baby. And so it's just weird. Now, I know where this is coming from. This is probably in response to those school districts or those states that passed laws that said that kids could go to their teacher and ask if they could have some sort of transgender procedure done so that they can transition to become a different gender. And I don't know about all the details about that, but that's where I think that this is coming from, so that parents would be involved in the decisions made about their children. It just makes sense to me. But you can debate me on this if you want. Post a comment on YouTube. Let's hear your thoughts. Next is proposition number 16, clarifying citizenship requirement for voters. The ballot language says the constitutional amendment clarifying that a voter must be a United States citizen. Well, that's already the law. That's federal law. You have to be a citizen to vote. And this is probably brought as a response to those who say that illegal immigrants are voting or tried to vote or want to vote in the future. So do you think that this is a good proposal for the Texas Constitution to have something in there that says that? Let me know. Post a comment on YouTube. Or do you think that this is unnecessary because it's already the law of the land? It's just interesting. Some people probably want it just to make a political statement. Well, those are some of the changes. Those are the 7 that really don't make sense for being a constitutional amendment. And I'd encourage you to go listen to the radio show and podcast and YouTube video about the first half of the proposals to amend the Texas Constitution so that you can be fully informed when you vote. There's 17 game-changing amendments on the November 4th ballot here in Texas that could slash your property taxes, boost water infrastructure, and prevent state inheritance tax and more. Don't vote blind. Share these episodes with your family members and your friends so that they can be informed before they walk into the voting booth. I also want to let you know that I have a radio show on Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock in the morning here in San Antonio and Houston. 9:30 a.m. The Answer, KLUP. Also KSLR, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and KNTH in Houston. So tell your friends to listen to Talk Law Radio. Let's look at some other opinions from people that posted on Twitter, or it's called X now, formerly known as Twitter. I have a lot of older people that listen to the show, so I have to explain to them. This is social media, so to speak. One person posted on X that legislation is for funding projects, not constitutional amendments. When a Constitution amendment creates a dedicated fund, like Proposition 4 or even 1 and 14, it effectively locks that spending into the Constitution permanently unless they pass another amendment to repeal it. Legislature cannot defund it as a normal budget vote. It does not count towards the spending limit because the funds are dedicated and allows spending to increase outside the cap, even when the state budget is already at a record high. There is no agency or board to oversee those funds with spending decisions made internally. They don't have to justify or defend those expenditures. Why should we make it permanent, automatic, and less accountable? Let's do this the honest way, not through a constitutional amendment. So, do you agree with that person? Do you think that these decisions should be left to the legislature? Or are you glad that you get to vote on something like this? It's interesting, isn't it? Here's some more opinions. Daniel Gibson says, abolish property taxes so I can actually really own my home should be there. And I mentioned that in the other episode about the property tax exemptions. Do you really own your home if the state government could have it sold, foreclosed on because you didn't pay your property taxes? It seems like sort of renting the property if you have to do that. And it's a tax that you have to pay in perpetuity Even if you leave it to your kids or grandkids or other beneficiaries, somebody's going to have to pay that tax. And I think that schools could be funded another way, maybe by the sales tax, which is a tax on consumption. Here's another opinion that I found. Jules says, I intend to vote no. None of these are what Texans want. Close but no cigar. Send those legislators back to the drawing board. No veteran's spouse should be liable for taxes, regardless if the veteran's spouse was injured in combat or not. Abolish property taxes, in all caps. So how do you feel about certain groups being chosen to have tax relief and not others? Is that fair? Well, maybe you should talk to your legislator about that. And maybe you should vote on November 4th. That's Tuesday. So wake up early, go on your lunch break, or ask your boss if you can leave a little early, because these amendments can make a difference in somebody's life, and you can decide what the policy is on these issues. Here's another opinion taken from social media, X, formerly known as Twitter. If you have trouble finding that, maybe you can ask somebody that's younger than you to help you find it on your smartphone or your dial-up internet connection. Here's another opinion. The handle is 22nd Amendment. There are lots of these that are cleverly written. Most deserve a no vote. So I think that you should read these for yourself, decide if you want to vote for or against, and go vote. I also want you to check out some of the other episodes that I have if you're interested in estate planning, elder law, business law, probate, guardianship, or trust administration. You can actually just search Google for Talk Law Radio and the legal issue that you're having trouble understanding, and it'll pull up lots of different episodes that I've talked about these subjects. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I have over 300 unique episodes about different areas of the law. Because like I said at the beginning, now it's time for me to help you discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. Oh, and I forgot to say a prayer, so let me do that now. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the gifts and blessings that you give to us. Please forgive us for our sins, for our mistakes, for doing the wrong thing or failing to follow your will. Please help me give good information to everyone about the proposed amendments to the Texas Constitution today. Help people understand the proposals so that they can make informed choices about whether to vote for or against these proposals. Help us to do everything we do for the good of your people, for our own good, and for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. I hope you've enjoyed learning about these proposed amendments to the Texas Constitution. I'll just go back and give you a summary of the first show that I did, which was on the radio, but you can also find it on podcasts everywhere, also on YouTube. Just search for Talk Law Radio and look for the Lady Justice logo in the red, white, and blue colors. Okay, here we go. Just trying to find my summary here. Okay, I was talking about property taxes, proposed amendments to the Texas Constitution, an overview that could significantly impact individuals and businesses across the state. They may go unnoticed but have far-reaching consequences. So there's a lot of tax-related amendments that you're going to be interested in. If you're a homeowner, if you own real estate, if you own a vacant lot somewhere, if you own rental property or a vacation property, find that episode where I talk about those amendments to the Texas Constitution. This is a very special episode that's only on podcasts and only on YouTube. And I ask you to do me a favor, please. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to my podcast. That way you can be informed every time I do a new episode. I'm Todd Marquardt. This is Talk Law Radio. I'll talk to you later.